All right, let's get to conversation now. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the establishment of a presidential transition council to facilitate and manage the 2023 transition program. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustapha, announced the approval yesterday in a statement signed on his behalf by Director Information Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassey. The statement said the Transition Council will be inaugurated by the Secretary to the Government of Federation on February 14, which is today. Members of the committee, according to the statement, include the SGF as chairman, head of the civil service of the Federation, Solicitor-General of the Federation, and permanent secretary of Federal Ministry of Justice. Well, I will take a look at these, how this is going to impact the economy and, of course, activities ahead of the 2023 presidential election. Let's bring in our guest now, Enibi Opalowa, our Senior Research and Policy Analytics at Budget Foundation. He joins us virtually now. Thank you and good to see you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, Frank. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Interestingly, today is it's when the president will inaugurate the community, of course, which is to supervise the transition, of course, be in charge of the transition and to facilitate the management of the 2023 transition program. So what does this gesture mean for Nigeria's economy? It's with regards to investors' confidence, especially.
Okay, first of all, I would say I think the president is trying to send additional signals to the population and to the business community that he is in full support of a transition of power, of a peaceful and fair electionary process, and to the continuation of Nigeria as a country post-electional post May 29. I think that is the signal he is trying to send. He has several times stated his commitment to supporting free and fair elections, and I think this is just an additional signal that he is sending, that yes, I am fully in support of the transfer of power to the next administration.
Now, the committee of course is expected to be inaugurated today, February 14, as said earlier, of course, which coincided with the Valentine's celebration. This coincidence has been described by many as a gesture of President Buhari's promise of leaving a legacy behind. So let's look at the kind of legacy here. What legacy do you think he needs to emphasize the more with respect to stabilizing the economy?
Okay, well, first there are two things I would like to bundle here. First of all is the fact that he has established his transition council, which will be inaugurated today.
Right.
And the second part is the executive order 14, which he signed, and that order is expected to provide guidelines or to govern the transition of power from one democratically elected government to the other, and that is not just limited to his administration but to subsequent administration. And I think that is the legacy he is trying to leave behind. Before now, the SGF, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, is responsible for handling transition matters, but some other countries, specifically the United States, they have laws that govern these processes. These laws adjudicate funding, procedural matters, security clearances, things that the next administration, the next president should have access to, especially when the election results have been announced. Right now, there isn't any law in Nigeria that governs that. I think the quickest thing the president could do was to come up with an executive order that would facilitate that kind of process going forward. Now, I think one thing that we can do as a country going forward is that we can now take it a step further to cement that legacy and take it to the next level and making it a law. Because an executive order, while it is binding, can easily be set aside by the next president. That is one. So if we can make it a law, it helps. I think Ghana has a similar law that was enacted in 2012 that allows for the governing of transition of administration from one government to the other. So making it a law will take it a step further to cement that legacy for the president. But that will be by the next administration.
Right, well said. But in the interim, the Executive Order 14, it's not yet law. However, it's binding. But how strongly binding is this? Looking at the fact between now and, of course, the transition time, or the election and the transition time, and a lot of people expect some uncertainties in the economy and volatilities and all of that may come with different challenges. Again, that also may affect confidence in the economy. So how strongly binding is this? Because it's not yet a law, isn't it?
No, okay, it's not a law, but it's an executive order, and as far as there isn't any legal process to contest it, then it is binding. The same way executive orders are binding,
right,
on the country. So as long as there isn't anyone to contest it. However, I think what will be crucial will be it.
Hello, Mr. Kwalua. Well, I don't know if you can hear me, but we probably lost connection with your thoughts there, especially the last thought you had, or the point you were trying to make, given the fact that executive order, even though it's not yet a law, of course, is binding and it's as strong as a law itself. I needed to finish that thought.
Okay, yeah, so I said it's not a law yet, yeah, but it's still binding, and unless there is any illegal process that contests that executive order, it still holds. And that is why, for us to make it more stronger, then we can make it a law. That is something the National Assembly will have to do in the next administration. But presently, it's binding, and it should be followed. So there isn't any issue with whether it is binding, it has been signed, and unless there is any legal process to contest it, it's binding.
Yes, between now and then, of course, the president has gone ahead to and will inaugurate this committee, all right, the transition committee, of
Yes.
course. That, of course, will be in place, which a lot of people have also applauded. But the task of stabilizing the economy between now and when the transition happens is key. So let's look at what we should be looking at ahead of the transition day. What are key areas of concerns with regards to economy that needs to be addressed, in terms of investors' confidence, addressing some issues of challenges. Cost of energy is there. You have the issue of Naira redesign and the new Naira,
Yes.
of course, which is not yet in circulation. The Supreme Court order injunction, it has gone into place, and of course it's already binding there. 15 is the last day, which is tomorrow. So what are the key areas, economically, that you think we need to address while we're waiting the transition day?
Okay, I think if you ask anyone this question, the first thing they will tell you is that we need cash. Now, in as much as a cashless economy is ideal,
Right.
looking at where the government wants to go, I still believe there are major parts of the economy, especially the informal sector, that relies on cash transactions. If you have seen a report a few days earlier where it was reported that the percentage of online transactions have increased by 230%.
Right.
So someone would say that okay, that is probably a plus for the CBN policy, but really that is just one side. The truth remains that there are economic agencies, there are businesses that have been hampered by this unavailability of cash, and I think the first thing that should be addressed between now and let's say the elections or handing over is the availability of cash. Yes, the government has certain targets that they want to use that policy to meet, but certainly they need to address the availability of cash. And I think if you look at the rhetoric from the CBN in the last few days, they are sending hope. They say by the end of this week there should be more cash available in the economy. We'll be watching to see how successful that is, and we hope that one is settled quickly. So that's the first thing anybody will tell you. Just we need cash, we need a legal tender, we need a way to transact our businesses and to buy food basically. Secondly, will be energy. We need to get rid of the petroleum queues. The energy sector, the petroleum sector affects every other part of the economy. It affects cost of food, logistics, affects businesses. It affects bottom line of enterprises because you use petrol for your generator that powers your business. It affects individual residents. The weather is hot. So that is another crucial factor that needs to be addressed. We need to get the queues off the road. Apart from the fact that there is no ability of the queues itself are also adding to losses in the economy, increasing logistics time in terms of moving goods and services from one point to another because of the traffic. If you live in Lagos, you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we need to address that. So these are the immediate things that Nigerians are looking for. Let us get cash or resolve this issue, and then let us solve the energy crisis, the petrol crisis. When that is solved.
Yeah, I think Mr. Palewa was trying to give us a range of between now and perhaps we're trying to say between our next week or maybe before the election we'll be able to address or have sufficient, supplies of PMS across the country. But let's see if the NNPC will be able to live up to its duties in ensuring that they make that available. So please continue.
Yeah, so I was saying that the first two things I would say was availability of cash and availability of petroleum. If that is handled immediately, I think Nigerians can cope between now and the elections or between now and transition.
Okay,
those are the paramount issues on the mind of Nigerians right now.
Okay, still on the cash. Remember the Supreme Court, ruling or injunction, which is still binding, and that elapsed 15. So what next for CBN? Because the CBN initial day for extension was February 10, and now the Supreme Court came up with injunction that it must be maybe the CBN should, hold on everything till February 15. But I think we need to quickly take a break. Maybe when we return from this break, we'll take that question.
All right.
Yeah. Please stay with us.
All right.